Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, dear listeners. This is Comeza Radio Africa. The mind, the journey, the destiny. We apply our mind to the journey that takes us to our destiny. That is our philosophy. It is inspired by the following quote from Mahatma Gandhi, which contains the drivers of our behaviors. I quote, "Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny." Quote closed. We inform and entertain, we develop and educate, we empower and support, we associate and network. That is the idea. We are a business, entrepreneurship, and professional management services 24/7 internet streaming radio station. We broadcast music and talk shows across the world. Our objective is to use the African storytelling and Lekgotla conversation methodology in offering career coaching, education and learning guidance, continuous professional development, enterprise and entrepreneurship development, and connecting supply to demand. Our talk shows aim to affirm and support business professionals and entrepreneurs in their personal and professional journey of bringing difference to the world. These are talk shows that recognize excellence and greatness. We have a network of associates, members, and stakeholders who know our quality standards and therefore make recommendations to our production team. The conversations become lifelong account of our guests' work since they are recorded on Spreaker Studio and distributed on Comeza Podcast, Spreaker Podcast, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and many more other platforms to be added. You are encouraged to follow Comeza Podcast on any of these platforms, more specifically on Spreaker Podcast, so that you receive notifications whenever we go online and live on our regular talk shows. These conversations are continued beyond these broadcasts on these platforms, especially on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, and even LinkedIn. Therefore, you are welcome to follow further conversations after we have completed the broadcast. We are building a solid ecosystem of professionals and entrepreneurs committed to the empowerment of others, collaboration across sectors, sharing of insights and knowledge, building a base for succession and inheritance, and safeguarding the legacies for generations after us. We have inherited these legacies from our forefathers and mothers, not to waste them, but to pass them on to generations after us. That is our duty and responsibility. Welcome to our regular professional series, and let's welcome our guest speaker or our conversation partner of the moment, Mosima Makola. Re alo chame. Le tsoa yoang or le hlile jwang? Hi man, you are from the other side of the province of Limpopo. You sound like since you became the Makoti of the Bapedis in this Kukune land, you have mastered the language than even myself. or go my faith, or go canales or Radihale, they talk what Spedi do they talk? Is it the same as the Sekhukhune region Spedi?
Not really. Some more mahareng.
Oh yes. Yes. So it means you must have taken Spedi as one of your vernac languages in high school, right? Yeah, that helps. Otherwise, then it becomes quite a challenge. You and I, we have spoken quite a lot of time, but let me also touch on something that is quite very cultural. You know, in our culture, the Mapedi culture, the Makoti is the most highly revered or respected person. So on behalf of the people of Sekhukhune, I need to acknowledge and honor you for being the Makoti of the Mapedis of Makola. Lovely. And this professional series is really, as I introduced, meant to use your story to inspire that other young people that might be coming after us. And I was also saying that this being the month of Women's Month, being a Women's Month, I will even say specifically to the girl child that is listening and saying, if Mosima could become who she is today, why can't I be? And I hope you are comfortable that we are going to use you as a point of reference in our conversations so that we inspire other people. But we also want to honor your own achievements and also learn from you what lessons you have learned as you are building your career. But let's start very much from the beginning. I've already indicated where you come from, but people don't really know where Radihale is. Maybe tell us a little bit, where is Radihale? Where specifically at Radihale? Where were you born? And how was it growing up at Radihale, fetching water from the rivers and wood from the veld, playing khati and mravarava and others? And which school did you go to complete your high school with what subjects? And yeah, let's take it on.
Okay, maybe laba Thomas Tsanziki with the introduce Mosima Makola, and then Gilmurindi Amala, Wanako Hadihal.
Yes.
Even Hoki Nala Makola, Wanakamu Fepe. And then I have 3 kids, a son and 2 sisters to him.
Yes.
Right. So, Kogole Raka Wanapa Adhali Mole, you're taking Kilimo Primary School. But I don't know my life in nearly two-tone life, if I may use the word. In the sense that during school time,
yes.
And then
let's wonderful stuff. Let's accommodate our international guests. That was the Spedi, deep Spedi, and it's beautiful, absolutely. And let's incorporate our international listeners so that they can know a little bit in our own culture.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I grew up with my granny at Sibayeng village. And then growing up, you know that you have parents that are in Gauteng, working in Gauteng. So my parents were staying in Tembisa. And then we were just living 2 lives. During school times, you are at Sibayeng with your granny and then and your family there. And then come school holiday, you get a transport that will take you to your parents. Now you are in Tembisa. So you end up having 2 lives as you grow up.
You are one of those. You are one of those fortunate scholars that on holidays they will go away, and some of us will just stay home looking after cattle. And then when you get back to school, the first week of arrival, they say, write an essay about where you went during holidays. And you will battle because you didn't go anywhere. But you guys, you will come with great essays because indeed you did go away.
Yeah, that was part of advantage to us. That was an opportunity.
Yes.
And then, yes. Then when going up to high school, then I most of my time was in boarding schools, different boarding schools, from, we'll call it Form 1, which is a grade 8 until grade 10, at one of the schools, Pirukulube High School, and it was at the boarding school.
Oh yes, so, Pirukulube was in Solomon Dale.
Yes.
One of the very famous high schools
high
then.
School.
Mm.
Yes. Mm. So then going to grade 12, then I went to Bohara in Zanin to do my grade 11 and grade 12. Remember, I always we used to use this as Form 4 and Form 5.
Yes.
So I must just try to match the two all the time when I speak about it.
Yeah.
So, yes. And then, what is fascinating around that is that at Pirukulube High, I was doing sciences.
Mm.
And then I moved to Bohara, and then when I arrived at the school, they said to me, no, we don't have physical science now, we'll have it later, and then we'll be having a teacher coming.
Mm.
Then I stayed my Form 4 and Form 5 until I read the final matric without physical science, but doing sciences, all other science subjects except physics.
Mm.
And then physics was being replaced by geography.
Mm.
So yeah, by then it was not an issue. As growing up as young somebody, you never thought that this will be something that is going to be an obstacle in your life at some point.
Mm.
Right. And then when I complete that, I wanted to go to my plan was to be a doctor.
Yeah, medical doctor.
But now how do you become a medical doctor without physics?
Mm.
That was the question when results comes. Now you're trying to get the space from the universities, and they tell you that, but you don't have this.
Mm.
It's then now you place up your eyebrows, and then it's late by then.
Sure.
But yeah, I didn't stop there. I went to Hammanskraal. There was a school there. It was a private school which is called the Papama.
Yeah.
But it's no more operating now. So at Papama, I did my commercial subjects.
So you changed directions completely?
I changed directions completely. Then I started doing the accountings and the economics.
Was that a college?
It was a college.
So that was your pursuing your first post-matric qualification, right?
That was my first post-matric qualification.
Mm.
So I did that, and then out of that, and then I decided that now I need to pursue the line of commercial subjects.
Mm.
But now at that time, I wasn't so sure. Still, I had this thing of being a medical doctor in my head.
Mm.
And then, yes, I had to have a break. And then I started working as an administrative officer at one of the high schools in Tembisa, just replacing somebody who was on leave.
Yeah.
Right.
So you entered the education sector by default.
I entered the education sector by default, yes.
Mm. And how was the experience? Now maybe let's take it back a little bit. At that college in Hammanskraal, what was the qualification called?
It was just an additional subject because they were saying you can be it's it's an entry level, intermediary level. Let me put it that way.
Yes.
Yes.
So you just wanted to have the commercial subjects to start working somewhere.
That's right.
So now the idea of going to the university is not being addressed at that time.
It's not addressed at the time. So
Sure.
I went to work as an administrative officer at that school. And then at the end, because I was working there for somebody else, and then when the term comes to an end, and then I got the position at the police station in Tembisa. Then I went there and worked as another administrator there, actually as a typist, because that was the term at the time.
Yeah.
And remember I'm coming from the commercial school, right? Typing was one of the subjects.
Yeah.
So then I became a typist.
And I remember in those days, I'm sure many of us do remember, that typing was the very powerful skill that will find a job like now.
Yes.
They will even ask you, at what speed are you typing?
That's right, you're right. And then, when I started working there with the typing skills, and as well as heavimetry, it was something like, it's like you're educated.
Yeah. Oshapa typewriter. And when you enter the office,
when you have to do more copies, you have got to be dirty because of the type of the machines that we used to use.
Changing the ink in between.
Yes.
Stencil. Was Opola stencil?
That's what I'm talking about. That stencil will make your hands dirty. You have to be very careful when you use that stencil, because after that you need to have more copies and that. But before laying out that stencil, you've got to make it with the passion, so that now everything comes out properly.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Then I worked there for 2 years, and then thereafter I said, no ways, this is not where I'm going. By the way, I said I want to be a medical doctor. What should I do? Then I wanted to go back to school and do physics now. And then as I was going with that mind, I talked to my father. He said, okay, it's fine, whatever you want to do. Then that was the time of introduction of Vista universities.
Yes.
Then I said, okay, before I go back to high school to do physics, let me go and check at Vista if there is any possibility of me getting there. Then when I arrived there, it was fine for me. They took me immediately because I was having those commercial subjects, you remember?
Yes.
Now it was at advantage for me. Then I had to register BCom.
Wow.
Then I
which Vista was this? Which campus?
I beg yours?
Which Vista campus was it?
The Vista campus was the one in Dlamini in Soweto.
I see. Yes, I remember that campus, yeah.
That's right. That was the one that I went to. And then now...
By the way, most of the Vista courses were, if I may use the word that is used in insurance, they were underwritten by UNISA, right?
Yes, they were underwritten by UNISA, yes. We had some of the materials of the study guides that they still had the name of UNISA. And then, of course, with time, the name went off. But initially, yes, they were underwritten by UNISA. Right. And then, yes, I studied there. And then the traveling, remember I'm one person who was used to boarding school from one boarding school to another.
Yes.
Now, waking up from Tembisa to Soweto every morning, it was a hassle for me. Along the way, then I talked to my parents that I decided to go to University of the North by then, which is the University of Limpopo. Then that's where.
So you didn't even finish first year at Vista.
No, I stayed there for 2 years.
Oh, okay. So you transferred your studies to Tefliop.
That's right.
In BCom.
In BCom. And then then I did BCom because now it was my first and second year with Vista. Then when I go there, then I decided to take the education into the picture now. So now I did the BCom education. On my third year level, I remember I ran education from third year level and fourth year level at the same time. And of course, at that time, they allowed that.
So you spent how many years at Tefliop?
I stayed 2 years there.
Yeah. So because of the credits that you received.
That's right.
Will you say that was the best move you did?
Yeah, I think it was, because now I started to develop more love into what I was doing in commercial subjects, if I may use the word.
Yeah. And
then I started to see a lot of things that were on my table that are coming from the world of work.
And then tell me why specifically become education?
The education part of it actually came from my parents to say, you must also do education so that when you don't get the job, but you'll be the teacher. Then I said, no, I don't want to be a teacher, but I did that. And finally, that's where I started working formally.
And without being ahead of myself, it is interesting because you are a functionary within the education sector in a way, isn't it?
Yes, I am.
And at that time, teaching education from your parents' point of view was about standing in front of the children with a chalk and transferring knowledge, teaching basically.
That's right. And I think one thing that makes me not to be true to education, I didn't feel comfortable with teaching. I thought my speech is not good to be in front of the students and talk to them.
Yeah.
I thought my place is in the office where I'll be working with the papers and having that chair that is keep on rotating. That's where I belong. That's what I thought.
Now let's play a little bit around. Where were all these options coming from? Where were they driven from? When you reflect right now, is that the point at which actually what your life purpose was revealed? In hindsight.
So.
In hindsight.
Definitely so. I think that's where I was trying to run away from, but that is really me, the educator. Because after that, I started. You know, when I was at Vista, I also used to teach at the adult center at Tembisa.
Yes.
So in the evening, I'll go there and teach it was economics and business economics subjects that I was teaching there in the evening for those that were working. So I think that's where I started having the relationship with the older students. Yes.
So yours was not that straightforward, Mosima. So you couldn't just leave high school and straight to something that you've chosen. It's almost like you had your plan colliding with somebody else's plan. It can only be the Almighty.
Definitely so. Yes. And then you have your plans. You think that you can implement them immediately, but as time goes on, you realize that now that is not the route that is going to be followed and where I'm going to achieve what I want to do. You've got to drive somewhere, take a chance somewhere in order to open up and see exactly what is that is being assigned for you.
So when you were at high school, were you not exposed to career coaching or career, well, they used to call it career guidance?
Unfortunately, no. Because if we had the career guidance, I think they could have told me immediately that, listen, you want to follow this medical stream, and here what we are doing is not going to take you there. So you've got to decide whether you remain in the school or you go back to the previous school where they have the mainstream, the whole stream there.
Or you could have had a discussion that goes deeper into your personality and your interests.
That's right.
Because at that, yeah.
No, I'm agreeing on what you're saying. That maybe something could have came up at that time and tell me exactly, after assessing exactly what is it that I'm assigned for, then you would come up from the session that I'll be having with those advisors.
And then tell me, you didn't mention the primary school. Do you go to the junior primary and then I don't know whether there's such a thing, senior primary and then and then secondary school, all at Radikale?
The primary school, which was including from, it was a primary and higher primary.
Yes.
In one school, yes.
What is the name of the school?
Swaying School.
Oh yeah, you did say so. Swaying School, and it still exists today.
The school is still existing.
And when last did you visit them?
Say that again.
When last did you visit them?
Oh, my church has been. I haven't visited them in a long time. I see it when I pass. I don't regularly go there. Maybe I just visit once in a year or so. But I think my visit now has been cut in numbers because my parents are here. My mother is around here, and my father, of course, passed on. So now always I'm having my mother around that I can go and see.
I see. But then Pirikulube and the one at Tzaneen. Is it Tzaneen or is it the what did you call it? The one where you did your great yeah. They still, I think they're still existing. I think Pirikulube still exists.
Pirikulube is still existing. I'm not sure about Tala, but I should think it's still existing as well.
The reason why I keep on bringing this topic is that I feel that sometimes we move forward and we forget to go back and reflect and reconnect because it is part of our history, the schools that we went to.
No, you're right.
Although it's not easy because other people came after you and probably changed the culture and probably they don't even have a database that tells them who was here. So they will say, who are you? Which year were you here? So it might be difficult.
No, you're right.
But anyway,
right. No.
Fast forward now, after graduating from University of the North, what happened?
After completing from University of the North, then you're still talking about the education side, right?
Yes.
And then I continued with the studies, and now I went to University of Johannesburg. And then at that time, it was Rao University.
Yes.
I remember I went there going to check as to if I wanted to do honors, and then what is it that they will need from me. And then the person that we met there, the professor that we met there, he said to me, we are doing it in Afrikaans here, because it's still Afrikaans University, but we're intending to introduce the classes in English. And then I registered with them economics. Now I said, okay, it's fine, I'll register for honors in economics. And then it was in Afrikaans. Man, it was so interesting. Most of the classes, or let me say all the classes were in Afrikaans.
Yeah.
Because all the 99% of students were in Afrikaans. In actual fact, I think that was at the beginning when they started opening up.
Yeah.
And then I was only English students that is doing subjects in English in that group.
Yes.
So now the classes were running in Afrikaans, and then I started now to learn the tech concepts in Afrikaans. And then I had to buy, the
the dictionary.
I had to buy because now I have to translate
Oh,
as to what is the meaning of this for me to understand those.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, it was so interesting. And then this professor that I'm talking about, he encouraged me all the time.
Yes.
There were some times where I say, from this group, from this class, I didn't get a thing, and then I'm so frustrated. And then he would say to me, keep on going. You're going to be right. You'll get it. But, it was so interesting. At the end of the year, I managed to get my honors.
You serious?
Yes, starting in Afrikaans, and then anyway, luckily I was writing in English.
Yo.
The end of the year.
And VS your Sake Afrikaans no.
No, I had it when I started lecturing. I had a bit of it, but now it's disappeared.
You were very brave. But I think you had a very supportive lecturer, because I'm sure.
I did, and that's why I say after completing my honors, then I said I'm continuing. Then the following year, I registered for masters in economics in the same institution.
Same institution.
I also managed to complete it by the end of the following year. Yes.
My goodness, this is interesting, yeah?
It is, because my Afrikaans is very bad in any way.
Yeah. So, but you had a lot of English textbooks that you were using as well, right?
That's right. Yes.
I'm laughing at you, but I know exactly how it feels, because I had to study in German in my years in Germany, and I also relied a lot on dictionaries and then a lot of lecturers who had a sympathy with me and understood that German was I was using what they called German as a foreign language, which is not really the language you can learn academically, until I decided that I was going to enroll for a proper German so that I can be able to study. So it just shows you that sometimes if you set your mind on things, challenges can be overcome.
Yes, true. It can be. I think I'm happy that you understand exactly what I'm talking about. But you end up overcoming that. When I started working, I started at what do you call it? Not UNISA, but the RSA.
Or a technical RSA.
There's a technical TSA.
Yes.
So we were having the African students and the English students. And then I remember one of my first class when I get there, I had these African students that they said they're going to asking me if I'll understand their question in Afrikaans. Then I allowed them to speak Afrikaans.
Yes.
And then I answered them in English because my Afrikaans was not good. But they could understand and we followed each other. And at the end of the day, those are the people that will keep on calling me. seeking help from me, and I'll explain exactly, because I knew the concept.
Yes.
It's just that I didn't know how to
express yourself in Afrikaans.
Yes.
Wow. So you before you could join the main UNISA, so you went into UNISA via the Technikon SA.
Yes, I went through the major. Is how I got into UNISA.
And at what time did you now realize that this is my passion, this is who I am, and this is where my career is going to be made?
Let me say, before I go to TSA, after completion at University of Limpopo, I started teaching. I became an educator for almost 5 years there.
Where?
And then that was the time when I was starting there, and then I got this, when I registered with the University of UJ.
Yes.
And then I was a teacher then. And then I had this communication with the students, and then that's where my passion of teaching and educating came in.
Wow.
Right.
So for 5 years you were a teacher at the University of Johannesburg.
Okay. For five years I was a teacher at the high school in Tembisa, which is called Bokamoso. And then at the same time being the teacher in the adult center at Tembisa High School. And then after completing my master's, immediately I got a position at TSA.
I see.
That's how I left teaching and then went into Technikon South Africa. Then I went to the higher institution of learning, and then that's where I met my economics students.
And what was your role at TSA?
At the TSA, I was a lecturer for economics.
And
then yes.
So can you see that your parents actually had a vision for you?
No, they did. They did. You're right. They did, because I became educator for economics there.
Yeah.
And then now I had to grow in developing more of the qualification, actually the banking qualification. I had to develop that from it was then the first year level, then I had to develop second year level and third year level materials, etc., so that we introduce it to students.
So the lessons I'm picking up from you, and it confirms many other lessons from other people I've spoken to, is that there is no straight line in professional and career journey. Education, professional and career journey. There is no straight line.
Yeah, well, other people, they do have that. They got that straight line. And then, but most of us, we don't. We will really have to take some short left in order to get to our destination. So what happened is that I became the educator there. As a lecturer, then I assisted students in many ways. And then remember, the Technikon was also distance learning.
Yes.
And I think I had that thing of having students in front of me all the time. Then I decided to go to the regional offices to become the academic regional coordinator.
Oh, which region was that?
It was Johannesburg region.
Yes.
Sorry, Gauteng region at Johannesburg Center.
Yes.
Right, and then they would have the students in the center throughout the day.
So is that now the TSA center, or is it the UNISA center?
At the beginning, at that time, it was a TSA center.
Was that the one that was the one that was at Gold Reefs?
At Gold Reefs, it was just exam center. It was exam center, but the learning center in Johannesburg.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there, what we have in the Gold Reef, which was the exam center and the conference centers for TSA.
Yes.
And then in town, we're having the center, which is there to assist students in many ways, academical support from the registration level, from the academic support. That is where we are having the tutorial services. And of course, that's where my passion for work integrated learning grew.
Wow. Tell me, I'm going to ask you a political question, if you don't mind. Because I'm still sort of like asking myself, was it a right decision to get rid of Technicon SA and make it part of UNISA? Because I have a feeling that UNISA didn't need any addition in terms of what it was, but this level that we don't have a correspondent Technicon right now, do we? Or correspondent University of Technology, do we?
No, we don't. We don't. I think, as you say, rightfully so, if it was left there, then would be having a much more scope for technical subjects or vocational qualification at TSA.
And using a distance learning model.
Yes, that's right. So now we are having both of them combined. And of course, like you say, UNISA has got their own approach where it was more of a research and etc. And the qualifications are different.
Yes.
And then, yeah.
Yeah, because I really feel very strongly that, and again, it could be very politically incorrect or you know, because at the moment we needed to fix so many things, and we even ended up fixing things that were okay. Because I'm thinking of people who wants the experience of the University of Technology type of education, and they are not interested in the academic and research stuff. And therefore, they will need an institution that is very well equipped for delivering that type of education and not be clouded into the general university academic research type of model.
Yeah, no, you're right. It really changed the landscape of the Technicon. Because some of the qualification right now are being integrated together into what we are having in UNISA.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, somebody had to take decisions, and I guess if you are in that position, obviously you will have access to other factors that maybe you and I do not have. But I'm just saying that is vividly. I remember very well that was a particular niche. And the people will decide that I want to go and do this qualification at Technicon SA, and maybe later then I will move to UNISA. So there was that natural follow through.
That's right.
Wow. And
I even think
yeah, carry on.
I remember what UNISA used to do. That said, when the students, what I'm saying is that UNISA used to assist to say a student who hasn't progressed in the qualification, they would refer the students to TSA.
Yes.
So meaning that now there was no student that will fall off at some point.
Absolutely.
If UNISA qualification and you struggle on that, then you fall into Technicon that they are going to take you through, which is more vocational, and that will assist. Most of the students will achieve what they wanted to achieve.
Yeah. And then you say to me that I've always wondered why is the work integrated learning at UNISA located at the regions. So is that history where it comes from?
It's located at there?
I'm saying that you are playing the role of the work integrated learning for the whole UNISA, right?
Not the whole UNISA. I'm in the region now. I'm doing that for the Gauteng region.
I see. But all other regions have a Mosima of theirs.
They do have Mosima of theirs. But this is Mosima that is really having passion on work integrated learning.
So you migrated from standing in front of the students to now driving the transition of students from a learning institution into the world of work.
That's right. You know, when I was lecturing, I had the students that we used to place at the banks, and then to check their progress and working again with the banking sector to place our students there and see how they progress. I think that is where I developed a passion of work integrated learning, having to go out and having the external people, like the representatives from different banks, and then where we sit down and then we look into the scope and the way that we can be able to improve on our the outcome of our student, what we need out of the students. It really made me understand that now it's not just the qualification that one has to get, but it's this qualification that has got a value. The qualification that will give someone a profession. When you're done putting your pen down at the end of your final exam, then you know that you are having a professional somebody coming out of that room or out of that exam room. When the results comes, you are work ready.
Tell me, Mosima, wonderful. Tell me, the UNISA student has a physical address. Theoretically, it means nothing. So I could be sitting anywhere in the world and I'm a student of UNISA. Now, if I come into your region in Johannesburg and I happen to be in Durban, do you say to me, no, go to the Durban region, or do you say you assist any UNISA student who comes into your center in Johannesburg with work integrated learning? How does it work?
We help every student that come into your office, whether it comes from Durban, as you have indicated. So if you see these days, students of UNISA, I think they think that UNISA is the contact institution whereby they leave their provinces and come into Gauteng, and then they stay in the towns in order to be closer to UNISA. And as you have correctly said, that UNISA is a distance learning. There wasn't any really a need for them to come through, but now they are here, and then you have to assist them. You have, even in our orientation, we do indicate that now, as we move around as students, you might find yourself that this weekend you are in Gauteng, then following weekend you are in Mpumalanga, and there are classes that are going on. What is it that you need to do as a student? You go to the nearest office and they assist you. So you don't have, basically you don't have fixed office that is assisting you. As long, each and every office when you enter, they will assist you.
So your student number is your access to those facilities.
Your student number is an access to those facilities.
And tell me, how well spread are these regional centers of UNISA in the country?
In all provinces, we do have the centers. We have the hub. Let's say, like I said, Gauteng region. And we will have, let's say, Western Cape region. So now each and every region will have a hub where we are having the executive management of that region. And then we'll have the centers around the specific area. For instance, in Gauteng, we do have the executive management at the hub in Sunnyside.
Yes.
Which doesn't form part of the main campus.
Yes.
It's on its own.
Yes.
And then from there, we have the center in Vaal, we have the center in Johannesburg, we have center in Ekurhuleni, that is basically at Davidton.
Yes.
And then another center is it forms part of the main campus in Florida.
I see. The Florida campus.
Florida campus. campus. Now it will have another section that is only for the region. So now this type of structure is also appearing in all other provinces.
Wonderful. Let's hold it there. When we come back to episode number 2, I want us to go deeper into this UNISA work integrated approach that you are involved in. And also, I'm also still wanting us to expand a little bit on this regional model, because it really does help. Because people always think that UNISA is at a disadvantage vis-a-vis other universities, but it looks like it's actually even more sophisticated and much more accessible than people may think. You agree?
Agreed.
Correct. We'll be back just now.